It's a bit like a scientist really being quite forceful about there being no spiritual part of human existence.
Well, that's only some scientists.
Yeah. But having said that, there are very few scientists, top scientists in like the top of their fields that are religious people. You have to admit that.
I don't have to admit that because I don't know the stats.
No, I've looked at it, actually. I think there's like the really, really top scientists. I read an article on it a few months back where it said about how many of them actually have openly a religious faith, and it was something like 2 out of 100.
I think there might be a reason for that, though. I mean, in science, you hedge your bets. You don't ever prove anything. Everything's theoretical. You only disprove things, really, in science. And anything else is sort of, you're hedging your bets. And you're always looking for possible ways to improve your understanding. And so, hedging your bets and disproving things doesn't really fit in with belief very easily.
That does sound like something that a trained scientist is going to come up with, yes.
And so, I think, obviously some religions are easier than others for scientists. I am thinking of Buddhism because of the methodology. So you sort of believe in the method in Buddhism. Mm-hmm. Whereas in other religions, you have to sort of believe in more.
They ask you to have blind faith, basically. Yeah.
So that makes sense. If you're going to be scientific, the scientific worldview is a skeptical worldview. It's rational skepticism. That's the kind of basic starting point. So it doesn't really fit together with belief that well. But then again, as I don't know the stats, I'm sure you could find examples of scientists who do believe. And I guess you could say scientists do believe in their science. And they do believe in the scientific method. Mm-hmm. So it's not as if they're without belief. It's just that it's not...
It's not the belief that troubles me, it's the conviction. Like, to me, that's no different than a religious person saying that their truth is the truth and nothing else is true. That's what a scientist does, but like you just said, it's all just theory. They don't actually know it to be the ultimate truth, but they still have they still have that state of conviction.
I think, this is a mistake that's made possibly by scientists, but more so...
Oh, but it's scientifically proven.
Yeah, yes. But more so by those that promote science, popular scientists, shall I say, those that teach science. And those are the ones that obviously you and me come into contact with on a more regular basis. And they're the ones with the more dogma around surrounding their science that they are promoting, I would say. So I see it a lot, the media, the scientific media, the scientific, and the more it goes down the chain just to the normal person, the more dogmatic it seems to be. Whereas I think originally, when it started, it's a theory and it's not dogmatic. It's just that we haven't got anything better. And this is the only theory that seems to be standing up against all the punishment that we're throwing at it, i.e. trying to disprove it. Because that's what science is. You just make a theory, and if it stands up against being whacked, then you stick with it, basically, and you still whack it. And then you get tired of whacking it, and then it sort of becomes established. And then maybe like 100 years later, someone comes along and whacks it a bit more. Then it destroys it and comes up with something else.
Yeah, but that's not strictly true, because at the moment we've got 2 strains of physics that are running side by side that seem to kind of basically contradict each other. Mm. But one seems to be good for one thing, or some things, and the other one seems to work for other things. Actually, there's more than 2. There's 3 I have in my head at the moment. At least 3. So how does that work?
Well, if they could come up with a way of describing quantum and, basically things the size of the universe and things the size of particles at the same time, I'm sure they would. But the fact is, it's a long, long, long way. It's a long marathon, and it's difficult to find out whether any of these, like string theories and whatnot, are actually
sort of Newtonian physics, and then Einstein's theory of relativity, and then obviously quantum physics are the 3 that I was thinking of.
We're talking about scale here, so we've got everyday scale, that's Newtonian.
Yeah.
You've got big scale, that's relativity, and you've got small scale, and that's quantum theory.
Yeah.
And both...
But in a sort of spiritual sense, and spiritual teachers would say it's the macrocosm and the microcosm, as above, so below.
does not seem to
So
work
if
like that.
scientists kind of just push that aside and don't look at it, I feel like maybe, just maybe, in my very novice viewpoint, they might be missing something that's already been said.
They know they're missing something.
That's already been said.
It might have already been said.
Yeah.
But then which one of the many things that have already been said is it? You know, and it might not have already been said. Who knows? The point is they don't know for sure yet. And it's very difficult for them to find out because the actual conditions under which they'd need to be able to test, like perform experimental tests are...
Oh, come on, I'm fed up with hearing this because a lot of science in brackets that we consider to be science has never been tested and could never be tested.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about astronomy for a start, which is classed as a science.
Yes, astronomy and the theory of evolution, yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Things that are a long way away in time and things that are a long way away in space.
Which... apparently is a scientifically proved, whatever that means. But it can't be. It just can't be. Well,
yeah, it can't be as well as experimental lab-based science. And that's so. It's like, you know, there are gradations of what can actually be done. So in astronomy, you find cases, you know, and you just, if something looks out of place, then that might challenge the theory, or it might just be that you got it wrong. You know?
Astronomy is basically 100% theory. None of it's actually proved. That's a strange thing.
I think this is what you've got to get over. A theory, all science is a theory, none of it's proved. No matter, even if it was done in a lab, it's still not proved. It doesn't matter whether it's a long way in space or right here in your living room, it's still not proved. That's the whole premise of science. People keep forgetting that.
No, I don't think it's a case of people forgetting. It's a case of people not being told that. To me, that's just as bad as some preacher 2,000 years ago telling people they have to believe it, that's the truth, and that's all they need to know. To me, that's what scientists in the modern day do.
Yeah.
When was the last time you heard a well-known scientist say, well, it is just a theory?
Exactly.
You never hear that. You never hear that.
Well, you do sometimes, but not often enough.
So when someone says, "Oh, it's been proved by science," they actually believe that's it. That's the truth. That's it.
Yeah, and they're an idiot for saying that. You are an idiot if you ever said it's been proved by science.
Yeah. So it kind of niggles me because, in a strange kind of way, a scientist who says that is just as bad as someone trying to push a religious dogma on people.
It doesn't quite work the same, but yeah. The end effect is that people simplify.
And it's all about
things.
Control, isn't it?
People
really?
Simplify, especially if they're, trying to debate something like, oh, I'm going to win this debate by saying, well, science has proved it, blah, blah, blah. So I win, the end, But actually, no, science hasn't proved anything. It doesn't prove anything, The fact of the matter is, reality, look at everything around you. It's all just, is that dream catcher there, In science would say, yeah, look, you measure it, it's there. That doesn't prove it's there. That just means that the best theory
in a particular strain of science, it would say it was there. In another strain of science, it would say, no, you really go down far enough and it's not there at all.
No, I'm just saying, look, measurement. By looking at something, you're able to see that it's there. You're performing a measurement. That does not mean that it is in fact there. That just means that the theory, the idea that it could be there, has some weight for it. It has not been disproven that it is there. But it isn't there. So in order for me to test the theory of that dream catcher being there, I don't go about looking at the dream catcher and going, is it there? Yes. So that proves the theory. No. In order for me to test the theory that dream catcher is there, I have to try and prove that it's not there. And if I fail to try and prove that it's not there, then I have no choice left but to assume that it is there. But that is still just a theory. That's the scientific method. I have to try and prove that that dream catcher is not there. How would I try and prove that that dream catcher is not there?
And is that across the board with all sciences?
That is across the board, all science. That's the whole definition of science. That's Science 101. Yeah? And people forget that.
People don't know that.
Well, they might have known it at one point. It should be taught in all fucking schools because that's the scientific
It's not
method.
though, is it? It's not though.
No, they just take the results of scientific theories and teach them as dogma. But no, there should be at least a small point in the course which says the scientific method is this.
But I think there's a problem there. And the problem is that if you tell that to people, then you lose a certain amount of control.
Yes.